So, hello everyone. Today we are going to have a session on one of the most important topics that are going to be there in your interviews, that is case interviews. So, you guys might be thinking, what is the case interview? Or what are case interviews? Case interview questions. Case interviews are types of interviews where you are given a problem statement on behalf of a company, or most probably a company, but even something arbitrary. And you have to act as a consultant and dissect the problem by asking quick and good questions in a very structured way, and then suggest solutions. Now, these can be asked in a variety of interviews and maybe in XLRI or other interviews. Now, even after your GDPI interview, when you are in your MBA, this will be expected out of you from companies. Now, the type of cases that will come from the company side will be, of course, much more difficult than what you will be asked in your, let's say, MBA GDPI processes. But yet again, if you are prepared and know how to structure your thoughts around the company's profits and all, then that is something that is really helpful for your preparation. Another thing is that while preparing this session, I took a look at the gold standard of case thinking, and that was the IIM Ahmedabad Consulting Prep Book. This is something that all the MBA graduates actively use to get prepared with, let's say, their MBA GDP, MBA placement processes, and this will also help you in your preparation of MBA GDPI. Now, coming to the session already. Now, you guys might be thinking, why should we take this session? First of all, your structured thinking should be very evident even under ambiguity. For the interview panel, they don't really know that you have gone through the IIM Ahmedabad casebook. All they know is that you are someone who wants to come for an MBA. And if you are able to make your mark as someone who can think in a structured way, then that will be really helpful for your case. Apart from that, if you have the ability to answer the right questions, that again goes a long way for you. Then comes hypothesis driven problem solving. So many a times there are some things that are vague in the market. For example, if a company's revenue is going down and you don't know anything else about it, you'll have to assume along different lines of thinking. So maybe what is the case with the competitors? Is the revenue of the competitors also going down, or is the competitors' revenue constant? Now, in this, you have to take hypotheses and assumptions, and it is the quality of those hypotheses that really matter in showing how your thinking is. Apart from this, when it comes to pricing and other cases, your numbers and logic are also under the test. And most importantly, when you are given a case, the professor or the panel thinks that you are basically under pressure because this is something new for you. At that time, the communication skills that you show and the clarity you show and the composure you show, that is assumed or that is thought of to be your real personality. So if you are already prepared for this, then you will be able to show a personality that will most likely be able to crack the GDPI processes. Now, what will I be teaching you in this session? First is I will be giving you some cases, some example cases, and I will be giving you structure for other cases because there is a time limit that I have, and you are not right now in the need of all of the cases that are asked in these processes. You will only be asked one or two types of cases that I have given you. Apart from that, we can just take a look at the other types, so to say, and their solutions. Apart from that, you will also be able to, after this session, be able to structure problems or the solutions to those problems from the very scratch or very start. Then you will be able to use frameworks, the frameworks that you are taught mostly in marketing and finance and let's say operations. You will be able to teach them for flexibility, not mechanically. Now, apart from that, from this, you will be able to A, drive the interviews and B, deliver clear and implementable recommendations. That is something that is expected out of people who want to go into consulting, especially, and even out of other people, because structure is something that is really important to an MBA candidate. Now, when it comes to case interviews, there are two things that are out there for the test. As you can see on the screen, the first one is your behavioral attributes, the personality and the fit. Now, the first thing under that is confidence, then coachability, and third is presence. So confidence is something that is inbuilt, but in these months of preparation, you can still increase the amount of confidence you have with the level of preparation that you have done. Now, the good thing about confidence is if someone were to tell you that you have a challenge and you have to eat a morsel of food in front of me, will you not take up that challenge with the utmost confidence that you can garner? You will definitely do that, and that you will do because you have already practiced that is something that you know that you will be able to do. That is something that you're sure of. If you have such an amount of surety in you in the process of the interview about some question, about some, let's say, problem solving trick, then you will also show confidence there. So this is something that we can work on. Then is coachability. Now, coachability means that in the panel, if the panel tells you that in the interview, if the panel tells you that you were wrong in this assumption, maybe you should change that a little bit, or let's say just tweak it a little bit, whether you are amicable to that suggestion or not, whether you are able to incorporate that suggestion into your already existing pre-existing solution or not. And third is presence. Whatever the problem that you are given, you should be very, let's say, aware about the domain that is surrounding it, and also be very aware of what the panel is telling you. But these are secondary things that you are working on. What is the primary focus of you? First, the primary focus is problem solving. And how can you work on problem solving? First is business cases, and the second is guesstimates. Now, this session particularly is very, very, very much focused on the different types of cases. I will be coming back to you with a session on guesstimates, because believe you me, if case interviews are, let's say, very important, guesstimates are even more important. The logic, the rationale, and the thing that they are trying to check is same with both the business cases and the guesstimates, but guesstimates is something that is expected more out of you. With the business cases, it's like it's a high risk thing. If you don't know that, you won't be judged negatively, but if you know that, you will get a lot of reward for it. Okay, but in case of guesstimates, if you don't know that, you might be judged negatively. The possibility of that is much higher, and the positive, if you solve it in a very good manner, again the reward is also much higher. Today we will be mastering the logic, structure, and execution of case solving. For guesstimates, I will come up with another sessions. Now, let's assume that I gave you a case and I were your interviewer. How will you solve that? First is you have to clarify the problem. If I tell you that the company's sales has been going down, you will have to ask me, is it going down in terms of units, or is it going down in terms of price? You have to clarify the problem. Then you have to structure the problem. Okay, sir, when we are talking about revenue, uh, because you told me that the company is of X type, I assume that it has the following streams of revenue. Am I right in this correction? Am I right in this suggestion? And there are these, and these. You then name out the different revenue streams and how you will analyze each one of them. Okay. Now, just by doing that, you will have a very big structure. You will have 2 or 3 streams of revenue. All of those will have a value chain. All of those will have a customer journey. Okay. You cannot analyze the entire thing. You will have to ask the professor or the panel where you should go into. They will most likely give you a hint. Even if they do not, then you will have to use your own brain to understand where the problem might be lying. So just an example, if in the revenue case, the problem is with only the company in question and not with the competitors, then the case is obvious that if it is not the raw material price that is a problem. Because if it was the raw material price that was the problem, or that was increasing the price and reducing the unit sold and hence reducing the revenue, then it would have happened for everyone else. It is something on our side, and that too at the later stage, maybe marketing. Okay, so you analyze selectively, then you conclude with a recommendation. These are the 4 steps. Now let's move on. First of all, let's take a look at the golden rules of case solving. Now, first of all, you will never assume. So we should take a look at the golden rules of case solving. Now, this is not something that is really golden out there in the world, like the golden rules of accounting or something. This is something that is my recommendation to you. First is never assume without validating. Don't assume something that is not given. For example, you can assume the population of India, but don't assume that just because a company is, let's say, a D2C company, then all of its sales is coming from D2C. It might be that it's also minorly into other channels. Then never jump to solutions. I will give you a very good example for this. Jumping to solution means that, for example, you went to a doctor, an MBBS, MD, and all of the degrees that are there, doctor. He is a general physician. You told him that you have a fever and you feel a pain in the right side of your stomach, upper right side of your stomach, of your abdomen more precisely. The doctor does one thing, he closes his eyes, reads out a mantra, or just does some sort of hand movements and tells you, okay, take these medicines, after 5 days you will be cured. Then you will not be satisfied with that, because the doctor didn't ask you anything, that since when has this pain, since when have you been experiencing this pain, has there been any lifestyle changes. He didn't even use the stethoscope on you. So you did not even know whether the doctor really knows about your problem, or is he just misusing his position to, let's say, earn money or get that fees without doing a proper work. So that is why you should never ever jump to solutions. Next is your structure before analyzing. A company and management is a very, very, very vast thing, and that is why you need to structure your thoughts. You have to communicate your thinking. You also cannot, what you cannot do is that you laid out the entire structure, then sat down for 5 minutes without saying anything, and did entire calculations or analysis, and then you told them the solution. No, you have to communicate what you are thinking. With each and every step, you have to tell the professor or the panel what you are uh, writing on your piece of paper or what you're thinking. Then is sanity check your answer. This applies more to guesstimates, but even to case interviews. You cannot just give any answer which is not realistic. For example, if someone tells you that a company, a multinational company, has products that are in the entirety of the world and the market seems saturated, and there are only two countries, one is North Korea and second is an arbitrary country where our product is not there, what should we do to increase our revenue? You cannot tell them that you should expand to North Korea. What you can tell them that is that you can diversify into a new product. So just sanity check your answer once. Now, how should you structure this on paper? On the left side, write the structure. On the right side, some calculations, if you can do them, okay? And on the bottom side, you have to uh, lay out your recommendations. I'll just draw something here that will be able to better guide you. So this is the area for structure, okay? This is the area for calculations, mind the gap. And this should be the area for your suggestions. This will make your paper look very clean. I'll tell you why I'm saying this and why this is important. This is important because many a times you don't get to take, many a times what happens is the professors will themselves give you the paper, the piece of paper that you are writing on, okay? And what happens is that you are not able to take the paper with you. They're mostly like, okay, leave the piece of paper and the pen. You have to leave it there. And if you have scrambled over the entire place, then the impression of you is that you're a very untidy person. Now, this does not again mean that you will lose a lot of marks. But again, why be a person who does not look perfectionist when you can be one with a less amount of effort? So this will have structure. Okay, you will structure your thoughts like this. You will divide them into, I mean, the first revenue of the company can be divided. Then you can go into the value chain. Okay, use flow charts and everything here. This is for calculations. Okay, and here, after you have done everything, just write recommendation, not a full document, but just a few keywords. So what happens is you become a more memorable candidate in case they look at that paper. And believe you me, just because you left the paper at the place where the next interview candidate will be coming, they will anyways have to will have to take that paper somewhere else. They will have to throw it, discard it. And if they look at it at that moment, then it will come out as something that is really organized and will improve your impression after you have left. Now, coming to the main piece of the pie, that is a profitability type case. What is a profitability type case? It is a very common case, more common than any other cases that I would like to tell you. Now, there are three types of cases in a profitability case. First is a revenue case, then is a cost case. Okay, now these are not given individually. You will most likely be given a revenue case, but profitability case covers both. And when a company's profits are going down, the probabilities are that either its revenue went down, the cost went up, or both happened. Okay, so just by solving a profitability case, we're practicing both. Okay, so I have told you this in this section. Coming to the next slide. Now, how will you think about profit? Profit can be divided into two segments, revenue and cost. In revenue, you take price of one per unit into the amount of units that you have sold, that is volume. And then another aspect is mix. So what can happen also is that you have two products. Okay, you have two products, and one product has a price of 100 rupees and the other product has a price of 10 rupees. Okay, now maybe the volume of both remained the same and the price still remained the same, but still the revenue went down. Why did this happen? Because earlier the amount of this sold was lesser and this was more, but now this is more and this is less. Hence your profit or your revenue, and hence your profit is coming down. Okay, so you have to take a look at these three things. When it comes to costs is of two types in one scenario, that is fixed versus variable. Okay, you will take a look at which of the costs went up if they went up. If this fails, then what you can do is a value chain. Value chain I will tell you in the coming slides. Okay, revenue I have told you. Just taking a look at the 5A framework. This is a very basic framework and can not really be called a 5A framework, but anyways. First, you will take a look at the need. Has the need increased or decreased? Then awareness. What about the awareness of competitors and ours? Is our product accessible, still accessible everywhere that it was earlier? Affordability, did we increase the price or something? Acceptability, did some news come out about our product that made it less acceptable to the people? Okay. And then cost, I was telling you about the value chain. You know, fixed and variable cost, everyone knows. Coming to the value chain, first is procurement, that is raw materials, supplier contracts, negotiation power. Production, labor cost, machinery, maintenance, overheads, and efficiency. Storage, that is inventory holding cost, warehousing, and internal transport. Internal transport, mind you, from your factory to your warehouse, that comes under storage and logistics. Then another type of transport comes under distribution, channel margin, sales for transportation to the market, you taking your product to the one who is supposed to sell it. Then marketing, advertising, promotions, branding, and customer acquisition. And key important thing, after sales support, that is warranty, services, returns, customer support, and repairs. Okay. Now, let us just take a look at a case. Now, ideally what should have happened is that this should have been an interactive session where one of you guys, one of the viewers, would have sat across from me and would have solved the case with me, where I would have enacted the panel and you could have enacted the student. But because of the limitations that we have, I will just tell you how to solve a case that is on the screen. Again, this is very relevant to the MBA curriculum or the MBA scenario, so to say. Now, a campus canteen has been seeing a decline in revenues. Identify the root cause and suggest solutions. Now, you can pause the video for 1 minute and think how you should solve this. Now, after you have paused and played this, now let's get to the solution. First, you will have to structure the problem using the profitability tree. Is it a revenue side thing or is it a cost side thing? Then you will find the specific lever that is responsible. Now, this lever is not the physics, a lever where you can basically change the area moved and the force applied. It's just a general literature lever. Now, first approach, there are many approaches to solving a case. Now, first approach is demand side. You take a look at the need, awareness, accessibility, affordability, and acceptability, or the supply side, that is procurement, preparation, and distribution and service. Now, in this particular case, the problem was lying in the distribution and service. The canteen had stopped giving home deliveries or hostel deliveries to the people. Here it comes under accessibility. It was no longer accessible to the people who wanted it in a home delivered mode. But again, that you have to know. You'll have to ask questions about each of them. If you go through this, even then you would have arrived there. If you went through this, even then you would have arrived there and there only. Another could be the customer journey approach. In this, you ask them about before arrival, during visit, and after visit. After you had, if you had went down through this approach, what you would have done is you would have found out that the entire thing is fine. Then you would have asked the professors or the panel that, sir, the entire customer journey for those who are coming into the canteen seems top notch. There is no error that is there in that. And sir, is it possible that there are customers who are taking takeaway orders, or is there home delivery? Then they would have told you that they recently fired their delivery agent and that is why the home deliveries are not happening. Okay. Now, key learnings would be there are multiple structures that exist. Logic is greater than framework names, and root cause identification was greater than exhaustive analysis. This is something that I would like to tell you further upon. In this, what you were getting was at the root cause. In this, the framework failed. This customer journey framework failed here because it was not able to capture the solution. But that was because we were using the wrong framework. So what we got from here was that the framework in itself is not important. The thinking that this particular framework is teaching you is more important. Now, coming to the cost deep dive framework. So if you remember correctly, it was just a few moments ago. Profitability was equal to revenue minus cost. Okay. Now, revenue was something that we have already covered. Now we'll come to the cost. Okay. Cost can be fixed versus variable, direct versus indirect. So, and capacity, it's also about capacity utilization. It's all under costs. Okay. Efficiency losses and internal versus external constraints. Now I'll tell you something. Fixed, variable, direct, indirect, most of you know what they are. If you don't know, just let me know in the comments. I will be glad to answer your questions. But when it comes to capacity utilization, it is also possible that you are incurring a bill of $1,000 for running a machine that will give you, let's say, 10,000 units. So cost of electricity per 1 unit comes out to be $0.1. But what you did essentially, if you are not getting sufficient demand, what you will do is you will only produce 5,000 or 6,000. So the cost per good will increase. That is how this is a capacity utilization problem. Another thing is efficiency losses. So if the wastage is too much, if the spoilage is too much, or the process in itself is inefficient, then again that is a loss that cannot be attributed to anything in specific. The raw material did not get expensive. It's just that you are wasting a lot more stuff. For example, if you are working in an iron factory or steel factory, if you are generating steel rods, then there is a lot of material that will get wasted. You will have to remelt it and reprocess it into the same material, same product, finished product that you are trying to sell. If you were to waste it, then again that is a thing of less efficiency. Okay. Now, also remember that in this is a hidden thing, that is machines. Do you have enough? Do you, the machines that you have, are they efficient? Are they running at the right capacity? Okay. Now coming to the next case. This is a live case of beer manufacturer, straight from a very good source. A leading beer manufacturer finds its production costs are significantly higher than global benchmarks. It is just this. You have to now tell the panel what the problem is and you have to solve the problem for them. How will you do that? That we are going to discover. So first you will have to understand the value chain. How is beer manufactured? Even I didn't know that. That is something that I learned after studying this case. So I will give you a hint just out of a similarity bias, because I'm similar. I know what your case sounds like. First, you will take barley. Okay, you will make a mix out of that you will leave to ferment. After fermentation, you will bottle them. Okay, you will put yeast in them, so that yeast in them mostly, but you can also put molasses. That will help in fermentation. After a certain point, the fermentation has to stop and this has to be bottled. If you ferment it too much, then it becomes something like a vinegar. Okay. Now, where can the errors be in terms of costs? Maybe barley has gotten more expensive. So first you will have to ask, is it something that has happened to everyone? Now, leading beer manufacturers' production costs are significantly higher than global benchmarks. So they already said that it's higher than global benchmarks. They didn't tell about it, about the local players. Okay. So you will just ask, sir, is it the same case for locals? They most probably would have said yes. Then you would have asked them, okay, sir, has the price of barley gone up in India? Because if it's only happening in India, then it means that the problem in itself is in the Indian market. Barley again is a commodity, so the price is not that variable, but it might be variable because agricultural commodities are protected. So maybe the cost in India is higher. You will ask them, they would say no. Then you will ask them, okay, sir, which you will lay down the entire process. You will ask them which process, which part does the uh, extra cost come from? Okay, they will tell you that it is coming from this part. Okay, maybe the fermentation part, or maybe the mixing part, or maybe the bottling part. Whatever the part is, that is totally irrelevant in this case. They could have said any part because the case is like that. Then you would ask, okay, sir, what is the exact problem? So they would tell you that the cost in this particular thing is more. That is just that, because the question was wrong. The right question would be, what, sir, I am assuming that in this there is labor, land. If you have read a little bit of economics, then you will understand this, and tech. There are these three elements to this. Can I know which one has seen an increase? Is it labor, land, and tech? Then you would yourself say, sir, I'm eliminating land, because if land prices would have increased, then that would get divided into all the bottles. And let's say the factories themselves are located very far away from expensive land area. And this is a leading beer manufacturer, and there are a lot of bottles that would get divided. So they would tell you, okay, the problem isn't tech or the machines. The problem in itself in this particular case was that the machine was much less efficient than the global players, and the global players had Chinese machines. We had Indian machines or European machines. Then the key thing here was the solution that you would have given them. Solution would be short, medium, and long term. Short term would be that, okay, sir, maybe we could try and import it from some German company or some European country where we can route the machine from. Medium, so this could be the medium term. The short term could be we could install some solar panels to offset the cost. But again, solar panels are not that good of an option because most of the factories do have solar panels. But again, you could just say that, so in order to appear more sustainable. Then comes importing it from some other country, rerouting it. And third would be legally rerouting it, of course. And third would be lobbying with the government in the very long term. This was just about capacity utilization, what actual output upon potential output, machine efficiency, machines per plant, and number of plants. If you would have gone that way when they said tech, then you would have achieved the right answer that this question needed. Your again recommendation should have been short, medium, and long term. Again, guys, do not forget to stop the video wherever you feel like. Take a pause and then try to solve it yourself. You guys, most of you will fail. Anyone would have who is starting with this will fail, but that is not a bad thing essentially. Okay, now keeping all of this in mind, the next type of case that we will take a look at is the market entry case. So there are only two types of questions that we have to answer in the market entry case from the 20-minute or 10-minute solution or the solution conversation that we will be having with the panel. First is, should we enter? And most of the time the question will be yes, the answer will be yes, and then you will have to tell them how we should enter. So let's take an example. You are trying to make a competitor to Netflix in the Indian market. And the question is, should you enter? To answer that, first you will take a look at the market attractiveness. Okay, is the market really attractive? What is the size of the Indian market? What is the share of Netflix, Amazon Prime, and other such competitors? Is there a gap in the market? Okay, since we are talking about the Indian market, we will also try to find out if there is a gap in the market. If all of these things are done, then we take a look at whether the company can really, the type of company that you are trying to build, can it really capture the market that we are having as a target in our mind. Then the competition and the barriers that are there. Are the rules around OTT too stringent to you to make an entry? Then financial viability. Whether the amount of money you will be spending, will you be able to get that money back in the manner that you want, be it revenue, profit, or any other metric? And then finally, the mode of entry. Now, there were many questions that I asked in this, let's say, discussion of these four aspects when I was talking to you. How big was the market? Who were the competitors? What was the barriers? Is the plan financially viable? How will you get these answers? You will ideally ask the professors if you could do a back of the envelope calculation or simple guesstimate. Okay. If they give you a number, all well and good. If they don't give it to you, then you'll have to proceed with the guesstimate problem. When it comes to financial viability, you will ask the panel what is the financial term metric of success that the company is looking at. They will tell you what the financial metric is. If they don't tell you, then just assume any safe metric that you have in your mind. When it comes to the mode of entry, there are, let's say, four modes of entry. Greenfield, that you start from scratch. Then is acquisition, that you buy an existing player. Then comes joint venture, that you take a player that is already existing and you do a joint venture with that player. You partner with him. And the fourth is outsourcing. You give your business, you basically outsource your business to someone else. Okay. If we take another look at market attractiveness, so the structure that we were following is, you take a look at the TAM, SAM, SOM. Now you have a homework of telling me what the TAM, SAM, SOM mean in the comment section. Then you take a look at the growth rate that is there, then profitability and margins, and customer needs and unmet demands. These are the four, let's say, frames that you can give your solution to make it look more structured. Getting done with this type of case, coming to the next type of case is pricing case. Now, pricing cases could be a bit weird. For example, in the IIM Ahmedabad casebook, there is a case where a scientist has invented a teleportation machine, and you have to decide the price for a one-way trip. Okay, and it operates only in Mumbai. So, when dealing with these types of cases, your objective is to charge the maximum amount of price that is justified. The price should also be able to penetrate the market, not any market, but your target market. Then you also have to think about when will we achieve the break-even point. And finally, will we be able to get to a position that is competitive, keeping the price in mind that we have suggested. Now, these two things seem a little bit contradictory, profit maximization and market penetration. So keep in mind, market penetration does not mean that you offer the product at the lowest price. It just means that if the, let's say, customer that you have is an elite customer, or let's say a customer who earns a lot, then the price of your product will also be higher, but not so high that even your target customer does not buy your product. Okay, it should be high enough for your customer to pay and respect your product. Now, what are the elements of your thinking that you'll have to take? First is customer's willingness to pay. Will the target customer be willing to pay the amount of money that you are charging them for that product or service? You will have to first get the clarity into the type of customer that you are targeting. A very good example would be Lotus Biscoff. After it became cheap, the customer base changed entirely. Before, it was offered in cafes to people who were rich or affluent. Now it is sold alongside Parle G in tea shops. So the key metric is customer willingness to pay. Then comes the cost floor. Okay, what is the cost that we are making the product at, and can we afford to sell it lesser than the cost price for some time, so that we can capture the market. After this, you will have to basically ask the professors about the requirement of the break even point. Then you will be able to better decide the cost floor or the price that we are talking about. Then is competitive reference. Assume that your customers are willing to pay 50 rupees. Okay, and the cost floor is 10 rupees. But still, all of the competitors, even the best one, will stop at 35. Then will the price of the product be 50 or 35? Then you will have to think, if you want to go into premium segment, then of course 50, but otherwise you will linger near the competitors. And after keeping all of this in mind, you will give the final price recommendation. Now, once again, the price that you give in a number is not as relevant as the entire structure that you went through to get to that number. Okay, the thing that matters is the structure, the process, or the thinking capacity that you showed the panel. Coming to the three types of pricing methods, the first is value-based pricing. So the price, let's say the product that you are giving the customer, what is the price, what is the value that they are deriving from it? So just a simple example, again going back to the teleporter case, we can be safe in an assumption that it will be mostly used by high net individuals, because let's say you won't be selling it for very cheap price. It will be mainly a substitute for air transport. Now, just to solve that case, that how should this teleporter be priced, what you do is you take a CXO in mind, a very high rich person in mind. You take his annual salary and find out what his one working hour is worth. Okay. Then you calculate what the price of a flight that flies from India to US is, divide that again by an hour. Okay. So you will be able to tell in 8 hours of let's say flight time, how much how much money will the CXO or the very rich person spend, A, in price tickets, and 2, as the opportunity cost. If he had that free time, he would be able to work more and earn more, generate more value. You will combine those, then charge a premium, and you will be able to get a price that you are thinking to suggest to a, let's say, panel. Next is cost plus pricing. The cost plus pricing is simply what is the cost of the product. You basically do go through the cost value chain that we did once before. You analyze variable plus fixed or the entire value chain. You come up with a solid price per product. You add a premium, that is your cost plus pricing. Third is a competitor based pricing. You take a look at the product. What is the price that the competitors are selling it at? Can you afford a little bit loss just to beat the competitors and capture the market? If the answer is yes, then you sell it around the price that the competitors are selling. But again, it is not so simplistic. You will have to ask the panel about which particular framework you should dive into. Okay. Now, next comes uh, growth. So, just a simple question. If you, let's say, I give you a case where you are in a battery manufacturing company in Maharashtra, okay, and you want to increase your revenue by a certain number of CAGR. So how can you expand that? First is you'll have to take a look at the current revenue. First is number of users, then transactions per users, then price per transaction. This is the total revenue. We can the revenue breakdown that we can use in this type of problems. Now you will have to try to increase any one of those, either the total number of users or the transactions per user or the price per transaction or the basket value. You can either increase any one of them or even multiple options. Increasing multiple ones can be a viable option, but then again the problem becomes more complex. Now, once you have decided that, there are two, let's say, ways to increase the revenue or just give growth to the company. First one is of course organic. Organic is internal. You take a look at either the existing markets or new markets, but with your own company's resources. You don't go to a second company, third company. Then there is inorganic, where you take a look at the acquisition or partnership side of things. Okay, so for example, there were two companies, Vodafone and Idea. They were having some problems. So what they did was they merged. They did an inorganic took an inorganic sort of growth strategy. Okay, then comes the next question, next thing, that is M&A. Okay, M&A is something that you see very commonly these days. Recently, a company named Kenvue, which is a very famous company, uh, did an M&A with another company. Now you'll have to leave the answer in comments, whatever the answer is. Which was the other company that merged or was acquired by Kenvue or acquired Kenvue. And you'll also have to tell me what does Kenvue manufacture. After this, so what is M&A? M&A is two companies, okay, either merging or one company acquiring the other. Okay, that is simply M&A. Now, what do you see? The synergic fit, financial synergy, strategic fit. Strategic fit is simply, are both the companies in alignment of long-term vision with each other? Then comes financial synergy. Uh, will it make financial sense later for you two to merge right now? And third is integration risk. So are the workforces compatible? Are the customer bases compatible? Is there any risk if these two merge? Just that. Okay. Now you will have to do what is called in M&A, what the background check is called due diligence. Due diligence that you have to do is you'll have to look at the market, that is size, growth trajectory and trends, then competition, then business model. Are the business models similar? Then customers, and then exit options. So if the M&A doesn't go well, will the owners or will the people who are doing this M&A, will the board of directors will they be able to find a good exit option? Okay, but M&A in itself will be asked in key finance interviews. This is not something that is relevant for general MBA candidates, but again, it is still not something that you will pinch you if you know it. So just try to understand this once. So let us suppose that there are two companies. Uh, One is, just a second, one is a polyester company and one is a petroleum company. Now, you know, petroleum is a byproduct of, sorry, petroleum is a raw material for a polyester. So first you will have to look if the petroleum company is thinking of acquiring the, uh, sorry, if the petroleum company is thinking of acquiring the polyester company, or the polyester company is trying to acquire or maybe merge with the petroleum company, then there are things that you have to keep in mind. First, is the market size for polyester big enough for the petroleum company to take interest? Okay. Is there growth enough in the market for the petroleum company to buy the polyester company right now? Second, what is the type of competition there, in the market? Is it the case that having an established player in polyester seems, let's say, beneficial to a petroleum company, or can the petroleum company just start another company of its own that will have equal standing in the market? Third is business model. Is the polyester company having a business model similar to the values of the petroleum company? Maybe the petroleum company thinks of the owners want things to be very cheap, meanwhile the polyester company is something that is into luxury polyesters, maybe something on the more expensive side. Then is the customers. Is the customer of this company same as the customer that this company, bigger company, has in mind? Third is exit option. If the company fails, will we have an exit option, or will all our money go down with it? Maybe if maybe if the government is trying to ban polyester, then there will be no exit option. Then this again is a bad strategy to merge. Now there can again be unconventional cases, just like the teleporter thing that I told you about. So in that, don't worry, the bar is also much lower than what you expect. You'll have to show your structuring ability. You'll have to show your comfort with ambiguity, and you'll just have to think on first principles, like I have told you to think in this entire case. And then just running you quickly through the types of cases there are. These might be asked you based on the background that you have. Then is digital or policy cases. Okay, so if someone has an IT background or has worked at that level, they can ask you about a digital case where a company has a traditional workforce or a traditional business model and they want to incorporate tech into it. Okay, will that be beneficial for the company? You have to do a cost and a break-even analysis in this. Okay, what are the benefits? Till what point, at what point, or till what point will the company be able to recover the cost that it has put in the advancement of company's tech? Then you'll have to take a look at the trade-offs, but it will mostly be like what I told you, and implementational challenges. This one is key here. Will it be the case that if you implement tech, then the company's workers themselves are not able to understand what is the cost of training that will be there? These things you will have to take a look at in the digital or policy case. Then is guesstimate. Now, just be very sure we are going to have a session on guesstimates very soon. But even in guesstimates, if you want to know write something right now, there are two types of guesstimates. One is top down. You take the population of the country, from that to the types of users that you want, and from there the product. Or the bottoms up approach, where you go to an individual customer's life, and then from there try to understand how many types of customers there are, or something similar. Again, we will be having a different session about this. The rules are, you'll have to be very clear in your assumptions, you'll have to use logical things, and you'll have to do a sanity check. For example, if they tell you to estimate the number of shoes in Delhi and your number comes around to be 100 crores. Now Delhi has a population of 2 crores. There is no way that on one person has around 50 pairs of shoes. Okay, until unless you find out that there is some sort of a major warehouse in Delhi or some sort of major hub in Delhi where all the shoes of the world are kept for some days to be transported. Then that makes sense, but then again you'll have to mention that in your guesstimate. Apart from that, there is also another beast that is known as case GD. Okay, this happened to me in my XLRI interview or GDPI process. What happened was, there was a panel sitting and we were given a case that we had to discuss. Now, what are the panels looking for in this? Who structures first? Everyone will be giving random things. You'll have to give them structure. Okay, I propose that we should think along these lines. We should maybe take a look at the value chain. Maybe we should take a look at the customer journey. And then again, who brings clarity? Okay, if the case is very ambiguous, you'll have to give them clarity. Okay, so the case is talking about this. This was in the news recently. Taking a look at the news and combination of what I have told you, we should maybe look at these and these things of the case. Then who listens and builds? Okay, so maybe you weren't able to give the structure. Someone else gave the structure. You modified the structure a little bit in a positive way, of course. Don't just do it for the sake of doing it. If you find something that is worth modifying, then don't shy away from doing that. Maybe you modified the structure or took the structure at various, let's say, parts. You took one part and explained it so well that you were able to shine in front of the panel. And final is, who concludes decisively? Whoever gives the conclusion should give a very decisive and a very comprehensive solution, comprehensive conclusion of whatever was discussed. Where did it start? What was the end? Whether you reached the solution or not, or almost reached a solution, or what was the mood of the entire group that was in the GD. Final thing, final checklist for your practices. Have you clarified the problem? Keep this in mind. Is your structure MESE? MESE is mutually exclusive, completely exhaustive. So if, for example, this is the problem, okay, and you have 3 solutions, so your solution should be like this. Okay, 1, 2, 3. No solution is overlapping into the other solutions domain. Okay, there is no overlap, and they cover the entire ground of the problem comprehensively. So mutually exclusive to one another, comprehensive when taken in total. And are you prioritizing correctly? When you chose one thing over the other, were you clear in that? Did you ask the professor in that? And finally, just keep this in mind that you should be able to defend the recommendation. You should be able to come up with some live examples for the recommendation that you gave. Of course, if you don't come up with that, that is also fine. But if you are in touch with the news, you will be able to do that. Okay, so we come to the end of this session. Good luck for your GDPI processes. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Like the video, and do comment. If you have any doubts, you can either leave them in the comment or reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'll be very glad to help you with that. See you. Best of luck.